What is up, heroes? This is Midnight Zero, and welcome back to Let's Play 999 Blind. In the last episode, we had some chemistry shenanigans going on, and we learned about Alice, or All Ice, this body that's very much like some of the other paranormal, or I guess something out of the ordinary stories indicated might be possible. I don't really know what to expect, and it seems like this is a phenomenon they keep building on, so I'm sure we'll hear more about it in the future. But regardless, here we are. Junpei gulped. One thing I'm going to say, I guess before we get into it, is I'm really going to try and limit these episodes to around 30-35 minutes, because I really need to be strict with my time usage for the next couple months, so please do understand. I guess the one exception is going to be if I'm really feeling extending the episode a little bit more, I'll give myself an extra 10 minutes to keep going. Or maybe like we're in the middle of some really hype scene or something like that, it just would not make sense to cut it there. Then I'll give myself that extra 10 minutes, but then that's the absolute deadline, you know? So, sorry about that, and I guess thanks for understanding. Regardless, alright, tell me, what happened to Alice? What happened to Alice indeed? Seven nodded slowly and took on the look of a man recalling something long buried. She auctioned? Well, around that time, the word was that there was a special black market in New York. All millionaires from all over the world. I've heard that Alice went up for auction there. I've always been perplexed by the idea of, like, really valuable black market possessions. Because, I mean, I understand as a video game collector that part of the joy of having such a collectible item is having it, being able to display it in your room or something like that. But that's part of it too, displaying it, right? And I feel like if there's something you obtain in the black market, something so clearly criminal, you can't display it. You can't show it off. You can't tell people about it. You can't teach about it, right? You can't enjoy it in that manner. Regardless, the person who won the auction was... Lord Dashiell Gordain. You've heard that name before, right? Lord Gordain? Isn't he the guy who bought the Gigantic, the Titanic's sister ship? Yeah, that's him. Although I guess he hadn't done that yet. Man, all these things tying together. What do you mean? Gordain bought Alice in 1912. Then 4 years later in 1916, he bought the Gigantic. And he hid Alice somewhere on the Gigantic. Why does everybody here know so much about these things? But nobody knows where. He died in 1931. And apparently, he died without ever telling anyone where Alice was hidden. However... However, what? Well, he did have one close friend, who asked him, "Where is Alice? Where is she?" And he said, Alice sleeps in a small chamber past the forest of knowledge beneath the navel of the Gigantic. Wow, a lot of modifications in there. So we got the navel of the Gigantic and the forest of knowledge beneath this navel. What might the forest of knowledge be? A library of some sort, maybe? And a small chamber within said environment. All right. What the heck is that? Some kind of riddle? Your guess is as good as mine. Seven threw his hands up in defeat. So that's it. Whatever you think, I believe it. She's hidden somewhere on the Gigantic. In other words, she's hidden somewhere on this ship. In other words, as in basically like one replacement between Gigantic and ship. Don't waste your breath next time, Seven. Before Junpei could dispute Seven's rather bizarre claim, as Junpei was trying to figure out what on earth he was going to say next, oh man, guys, you see the two hyphens? The music quieted down? Something's about to happen. Clover's shrill voice pierced the room. Hey, what are you two doing over there? Stop wasting time and get over here. Okay, we're coming. Jeez. Seven looked at Junpei. Yeah, so anyway, that's the story. It might be useful someday. Don't forget it. Well, I'll do my best. Remember all these paranormal stories. With that cryptic remark, he turned and left the room. Alice, huh? What if, like, every other participant on the ship is in on some sort of thing to prank Junpei or experiment with Junpei in some way? They all know this story that they're piece by piece revealing to him to see how he reacts as some massive psychological experiment. It's not it, but Junpei was left behind to ponder what he just heard. He tried to remember what June had told him earlier. That mummy wasn't just a normal mummy. They say that she was frozen. Yep, the story says that from the time of its discovery all the way to through to when it got put on the Titanic. Even though it was carried through the desert, her body never melted. Then was that Egyptian priestess Alice? Did the water in her body become ice 9? It's possible in this world, I guess. No, that's nuts. There's no way somebody like that could exist. I mean, given all these stories about the morphogenic field, pretty soon it might be like all the water in the world becomes that. Junpei shook his head, trying desperately to clear it, and followed Seven to the operating room where Clover was waiting. Alright. So, now what, right? We've got all of the mannequin parts, so I think that's the next step, right? An old hard bed. Maybe, what am I supposed to do? Combine them? Right? Because, like, I mean, okay. Then, I don't know, we can combine this with the chest. I've got all the parts, right? I do, don't I? Yeah, I've got the 2 legs, I got the arm, I've got the torso, I've got the chest. This should be fine. There's something that appears to be a scale. Okay, so we've collected the 6 parts with the medical mannequin. So, the ones we've got must be for Lucy, right? That is an incorrect apostrophe. Yeah, seems like it. Well, I say we give Lucy her parts back. Makes sense. Any objections? Objection! That is a series coming in the channel in the future. Nope. Agreed. Alright, let's get started. Combine! Polymerization! I don't know why that was like the first thing that came to mind. Like, I figured in retrospect, like the fusion dance or something like that. Because it's been so long since I've been a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! But I don't know why. Polymerization. Huh. Alright, regardless. Medical mannequins all put back. Hey, nothing happened. That's odd. Maybe it's the wrong weight? Wait. Yeah, well, you know, there's a scale on the side of the bed. Maybe. We need to get the scale to a specific number. How are we gonna do that? I think we're supposed to swap her body parts with John's. Yep. Figured that would be the case. Oh. Let's give it a shot. Operating instructions. Ooh. I could use some operating instructions. My surgery clerkship's in a few months. The screen will display 2 medical mannequins. You can switch their body parts by selecting the part you want to switch out. Oh, this is pretty helpful. So at the moment they're 53.5 and 51.0. I don't remember what were the numbers we needed to work with. No dice. I think if we knew the weight of each part, we could figure it out. Are they really going to make me exit the minigame to look at the paper each time? Oh, probably not. I can probably access it from the minigame. Let's try that. So if I do this, that didn't seem to work. Are you looking at that medical record? Don't worry. Don't worry. I got it. I just wanted to see if I could access it during the thing. Maybe I should just take a picture of this with my phone or something. I think that's what I'm gonna do, so that I'm not like exiting the minigame and then coming back over and over. That would just get frustrating. So, alright, now that I've got this picture at my disposal, let's see what we can do. So it looks like we want to get John to 51.3 kilograms, and we want to get Lucy to 53.2. And that means we need to reduce John by 2.2 kilograms, and we need to add 2.2 kilograms to Lucy. So we literally just need to transport basically a net of 2.2. Looking at the part numbers for John, none of them equate exactly to 2.2, which means we're going to need to swap a larger part from John to Lucy, and then a smaller part from Lucy to John. Basically, at least 2 transactions to make this happen. So what combinations do we really have to work with here? At first glance, I realize this is probably not the most engaging for you guys because, well, you can't see the picture I have, nor am I going to take the time to edit that on screen. Maybe it's worth just rewinding the video or pulling it up on a separate tab or something. Let's see, what do we want to do? So, John's arm is 0.2 more. John's heart is 0.3 more. John's chest is 0.2 more. John's arm is 0.5 more. John's abdomen is 0.6 more. John's right leg is 0.4 more. And John's left leg is 0.5 more. So, all in all, I think, whoa. Okay. Let's mess this around a little bit. We're getting closer, that's for sure. We're 1.2 away. So at this point, what else do we want to add? We've already swapped quite a bit. And we're not able to swap the left arm or the head. It looks like it almost has to be everything that we swap, right? Although we don't have access to something that's 0.7. Because at this point it would just be like swapping literally everything, right? And that's not really going to help much. So, it's probably not that. And if we need to swap 0.7, there should be something that's 0.3, which would be the heart and then the right leg. Cool. Hey, Junpei, I just heard something. Hopefully that wasn't... I realized that might not have been the most engaging segment because you couldn't really see the image on screen, but I hope it was still bearable and didn't last as long as it maybe felt like it lasted for me. It came from John's operating table. We better check it out. Sounds good to me. Let's head on over. Huh? The lid on the scale. It opened. Hey, it opened. Oh, I get it. It must have opened because we matched John's weight to what's on the chart. Cool, so we got the Jupiter key. That was the key from the other room, right? Is anything gonna come out of Lucy's? Scale, the display shows 53.2. I'm pretty sure that's what we were supposed to have, right? Or was it 52.3 we're supposed to... It probably won't even let us adjust it now. Yeah, it won't, so... Alright, well I won't bother with that then. And with that we can go, not the chemical room, right? Over here. And we should be able to use this on the door and escape, right? I think that's the end of the escape room. Hey, hold on. Junpei stopped, about to put the key in the door on. What's up? Where's Clover? Huh? Clover, we're literally about to escape. What are you doing? What are you doing? Huh? Junpei turned around. Clover was nowhere to be seen.
何やってんだよ、あいつ。
Darn it, what the heck did she... Or where the heck did she
ちょっと
go?
待っててくれ。連れてくるから。
Just hold on a minute, I'll go get her.
わかった。
Sure thing. Junpei left Seven at the door and headed back to the operating room. Where could she have gone? He found her standing next to the operating table. She was staring at the mannequin.
おい、どうしたんだよ、四つ葉。早く行くぞ。
Hey, Clover, what's wrong? Come on, let's get out of here. Does she, like, know something about the mannequin or what? She didn't respond. If she hadn't been standing up and breathing, Junpei might have thought she was dead.
何してんだよ。
What are you doing?
そんなにジョン君と別れるのが名残惜しいのか？
Did you want to come back here and say goodbye to John? It wasn't the best joke, but it was something. An attempt to lighten the mood. Understandable. Clover didn't laugh. She stood stock still and said nothing.
なあ、四つ葉聞いてんのか？
Hey, Clover, can you hear me? Perhaps it was something he'd said, or perhaps it was something else. Suddenly, her mouth opened, and she whispered in a dry, dead voice.
お兄ちゃん、もしかしたら殺されたのかもしれない。
My brother might be dead. Specifically, I want to point out that she didn't just say dead, she said, like, killed. It's possible that my brother has been killed.
え、
Huh?
急にいなくなっちゃったのはきっとそのせいで。
That's why we couldn't find him.
だとしたら、
If
だ
he's
とし
dead,
た次に狙われるのは
I'm going to be next.
私だと思う。
I mean, I wouldn't be certain about that. Suddenly, the operating room felt very, very cold.
何言ってんだよ。
What are you talking about?
どうしちまったんだよ、突然。
What's wrong with you? He gave her a small shake, but she still didn't respond. The silence grew heavier. Junpei, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Told Clover they needed to leave, gave her the 4-leaf clover. So obviously, in response to this prompt, it doesn't work. It's more like a, in retrospect, what did Junpei do? Can give her the 4-leaf clover? Yeah, we'll give her the 4-leaf clover. It's lucky. Her name's Clover. It'll be cute. It'll be total hit. I don't know why else we'd keep it though, right? Yeah, let's give it a go. Oh yeah. He didn't know why, but suddenly Junpei remembered something he'd been given earlier.
確かポケットにあったあった。
It's in my pocket somewhere. Ah, here it is. He reached into his pocket and dug it out.
四つ葉のクローバー。
A 4-leaf clover. Santa had given it to him in the second classroom. He headed out to Clover. Or he held it out to Clover. Hey, did you know?
四つ葉のクローバーの葉っぱには1枚ずつ意味が込められてるんだぜ。
Each leaf means something.
Faith, Love, Luck.
Hope, faith, love, and luck.
希望、信頼、愛、幸運だ。
That's what a 4-leaf clover stands
こいつをお
for.
前にやろう。お守りだ。受け取ってくれ。
Take it. Use it as a good luck charm. He pressed the 4-leaf clover into her
いい
hand.
か、四つ葉。
Listen to me, Clover.
いつでも、どんな時でも、希望を捨てちゃいけない。大切なのは信じること。そして愛することだ。
Whoa. No matter what happens, you can never lose hope. You have to remember what's most important, and that's to have faith and to have love.
この3つが揃った時、初めて幸運が訪れる。
If you can remember all of those things, that'll bring you good luck.
お前の兄貴、ミルスは殺されてなんかいない。
Snake, I mean, your brother, he's not dead. And again, use the word, he wasn't killed.
きっとどこかで生きている。
He's alive,
そう信
somewhere.
じるんだ。
I'm sure of
強
it.
く。
You've just got to believe in that. He said, I believe that that's the truth. Strongly. Clover stared at the 4-leaf clover in her hand. He could see tears start to form at the corners of her eyes.
ありがとう。
Thank you. Her voice was tiny and broken, and as she spoke, she started to cry. She tried to hide her tears by looking at the floor, but it did little good. She wiped away tears with the baggy arms of her jacket, but more quickly, took their place. No matter how she tried, she couldn't stop crying. Her tears made small wet circles on the floor.
ありがとう。
Thank you. Aw, she said it again. Then she looked up at Junpei and seemed to choke down the last of her grief. She did her best to smile. Junpei wiped an errant tear from her cheek with his thumb and gave her the best smile he could manage.
出口の前でセブンが待ってる。
Now come on. Seven's waiting for us at the exit. Aw, that's cute. But still she didn't
待
move.
って。その前に一つだけ聞きたいことがあるの。
Wait, before we go, there's one thing I want to ask you.
なんだ？
What's that? Yeah, what might she have in mind for us?
実験って聞いて何か思い当たることは？
Huh? What do you think when you hear the word experiment? What's that supposed to mean? For a moment, his mind froze. Then he came back to his senses and realized the word meant nothing to him, aside from the dictionary definition. What?
そうだよね。
Oh. Huh.
それじゃあやっぱりただの偶然だったんだ。
I guess it was just a coincidence then. Interesting. What does she know that we
順
don't?
平が四つ葉のクローバーのこと知ってたのは？
I mean, that you knew about the four-leaf clover. Huh? There's something going on. She knew about the four-leaf clover, Santa knew about the four-leaf clover, and it's something beyond the standard meaning, I guess. And it's got to be related to some sort of experiment, I guess.
意味がわからないんだが。
Look, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a jerk, but you are making less than no sense right now.
なんでもないの。気にしないで。
Oh, no, it's nothing. Just forget about
気
it.
にしないでって言われて気にならないやつなんていないだろう。
Oh, don't give me that. You really think I can just drop this?
なあ教えてくれ。何なんだその実験って。
What is this experiment you were talking about? Clover looked away. The four-leaf clover was still in her hand. She stared at it for a long moment, and then finally spoke.
絶対誰にも言わないって誓ってくれる？
You promise you won't tell anyone?
おう誓うよ。
Cross my heart.
本当に
Really?
本当だ。
Really?
信頼してもいいんだよね？
I can trust you, right?
当たり前じゃないか。
Of course you can. Clover slipped the four-leaf clover into her pocket. Her eyes still red from crying, she looked up at Junpei.
わかった。それじゃあ教えてあげる。
Interesting. Okay, then, I'll tell you.
今から9年前、この船で何が行われたのか。
Huh? I'll tell you what happened on this ship 9 years ago. How does Clover know what happened on this ship 9 years ago?
待て待て待て。この船で
I would have the exact same reaction. Literally not even a word into the actual story, just like the context of what the story is going to be. It is like, hold up, this is too much. What is going on? Wait. On this ship?
そう。この船で。
Yeah, this ship. Was my random experiment conjecture earlier actually somewhat valid? He was entirely lost. He had 1,000 questions, but it was probably best, he thought, to save them until Clover had finished.
実験は、ある特殊な心理的作用を検証するために行われたの。
It was an experiment to test some sort of psychic
そ
thing.
の心理的作用っていうのは、目には見えないフィールド
Oh
を
my god.
共鳴作用のことなんだけど。
Oh my god. Welcome to our podcast where we talk about the morphogenic field. This is episode 5, where we're going to be talking about psychic experiments on the Gigantic that took place 9 years ago.
目には見えない。フィールド
Fields that you can't see? He'd heard something like this before. Really? Clover nodded.
例えば、これを見て。
Like, think about this. She pointed at the operating table. On top of it was a somewhat mismatched medical mannequin whose parts had been swapped with another mannequin.
ジョン君、
This is John, right?
これって、本当にジョン君なのかな？
But is he really John?
Huh?
Huh? All Junpei could think was, she has finally completely
ロ
lost
ッ
it.
クの靴下みたいじゃない？
Isn't this like Locke's socks? What?
そうじゃなければテセウスの船とか
Or the ship of Theseus. I've heard of the ship of Theseus before, but I don't recall what it is.
と
Junpei grew even more confused. He never heard of either of those things, although they sounded smart.
知らない？今言ったパラドックスの話。
You don't know? You haven't heard of those paradoxes?
知らないな。
No. Junpei shook his head.
そっか。
Really? Clover laughed.
ロックの靴下っていうのはこんな話。
Okay, well, pay attention then. This is how Locke's socks works.
今ここにお気に入りの靴下があるとするね。
Let's say I've got a pair of socks. They're my favorite socks. I like them so much, I might even draw a little picture book about them and hide them around a land run by, I don't know, deviant children. Most of you will probably get that, but...
その靴下に大きな穴が開いちゃったの。
One of them gets a hole in it.
順平だったらどうする？
What would you do if that was your sock, Junpei? I mean, maybe patch it up? I mean, socks, honestly, are so real life would be throw it away and get another pair, given socks are relatively cheap and they're not that difficult to come by, and it'd probably be relatively easy to replace. If it was like my super favorite sock that like my grandmother made me or something like that, then we say, you know, patch it
当
up.
てをするしかないだろうな。
Well, I guess I'd patch it up.
どっからか別の布を持ってきて穴のところに縫い付けるんだ。
Get some cloth and close up the hole. And then the question is it really the original favorite sock then anymore? Or is it like part some other sock and then
他の
part
と
the
ころに
original?
も穴が開いちゃったら？
But what if another hole opens? And so forth and so forth, and then it's completely replaced by all this other cloth, and then you have to wonder at what point does it stop being the original sock and become something new?
また継当てをする。
I'd add another patch, I suppose.
さらに他のところにも穴が開いちゃったら？
Yep, what if another hole opened
ま
after
た
that?
継当てを。
Another patch, I
じゃあ
guess?
さ、そうして何度も何度も継ぎ当てを繰り返していって、
Well, let's say you just keep adding new
最初に
patches.
使われてた布地が全くなくなっちゃったとしたら、
Until eventually, the original cloth of the sock is totally gone.
そうしたら
Once you get to that point,
それって元のお気に入りの靴下と同じものって言えるのかな？
can you really say they're the same socks you started with? I mean, it all depends on how you define something as being a unique sock, right? Something like a sock is pretty straightforward. It's the cloth that makes it up, right? If you define that as that is that type of sock, then as soon as that cloth is gone, or arguably even if it's a combination of two different cloths, like after the first patch, I can make a very reasonable argument that that is no longer the original sock. That is no longer the same sock it was before, right? But if this is going to try to apply to people or something like that, it's not such a rigid definition of what makes a person, right? You could arguably completely swap out every physical aspect of a person's body, and so long as you still have their soul, you can't see my air quotations, or their memories or something like that, they could arguably still be the previous person in a different body. I think that's a theme that's been explored throughout a lot of art.
難しい問題だな。
That's tough. Junpei crossed his
も
arms.
しかしてそれがロックの靴下の話か？
So, that's the locked socks thing, huh?
そう。テセウスの船も似たようなもの。
Yeah, the ship of Theseus is a lot like it.
テセウスの船。
The ship of
その
Theseus.
船の傷んだ箇所を少しずつ補修していったら、
If you keep fixing the damaged parts of a ship,
最終的にもともと使われていた部品が一つもない状態になっちゃったんだって。
eventually it ends up with none of the parts it started
そ
with.
れでもその船はテセウスの船と言えるのかな？
Can you really say that ship is the same one you started with? I feel like this applies to anything that changes over time, right? Like, even people change over time. People learn more, people develop new habits, people develop new values, people change their lives, right? Like, people grow. And I'm definitely not the same person I was 4 years ago, but I would argue that both of those people are still me, right? So, I don't know, it's got to do something with the complexity of being a human being, or just that there is some intrinsic identity of something separate from the physical qualities that make up it. Yeah. It's an interesting thought. But something like a ship is a little bit more straightforward to think about, at least in my opinion.
別の場所で組み立て直した場合はどうなるんだろう。
And what if you took all the old parts from the first ship and built another one somewhere else?
その時にはどちらか一方が本物のテセウスの船ってことになるのかな。
Then which ship is the real ship of Theseus? Again, similarly, I would argue that a ship is more so defined by the parts that make it up. Rather than other aspects, so I would definitely say the remade one would be the true ship, but...
それとも古い部品で組み立て直した方?
The one you repaired or the one you built with all the original parts? Still an interesting thought experiment. Definitely makes you think in a more novel way, or think about something that isn't an everyday encounter. It was an interesting question. Clover could see Junpei was intrigued.
ね、同じだと思わない?
Hey, do you think it's the same?
何が?
What's the
こ
same?
の人形のこと。
These guys? Is this John, or is it Lucy now? Yeah, I mean, like, they're medical mannequins, right? So I'd argue at this point, they'd neither be John, if they're going to be, identified by, like, the parts that make them up. They are a combination of the two. They are something new, not the original John or the original Lucy. But if you assume they were, like, humans that had personalities, attributes, etc., then maybe they'd still be the same. I would say so. Junpei looked at the operating table again. Granted, the physical aspects of one's body do influence those that we might not consider physical. Something as simple as like a fecal transplant, not even like a complete organ transplant, but if you literally take somebody's poop and you put it in somebody else's colon, which is commonly used as a treatment for certain types of infections or diseases, you can actually, a lot of people note that they have differences in diet, differences in what types of foods they like, etc. And that's that influence of your gut microbiome on your food preferences and all that stuff is actually really well documented. It's not like completely explored and mapped out in excruciating detail, but the fact that there is a relationship is pretty well documented. Anyways, I gotta get going because we're approaching this time limit. A mannequin full of body parts from a different body. Clover had been right. It was just like Locke's socks and the ship of Theseus. The part of the body that holds a person's identity is the head. Of course, for many hundreds of years, conventional wisdom had held that a man's identity resided in his heart, or any number of internal organs. And here they had both.
頭部と心臓はジョンのものだ。
John's head and heart are both his.
しかし、それらと片腕を除いた全身の大部分はルーシーのパーツによって構成されている。
But apart from those and a single arm, the rest of the body was once Lucy's. Was that mannequin really John?
私たちもこの人形と同じなんだよ。
We're just like these mannequins. That's what I was waiting for. How do we actually relate to this concept? She looked at
だっ
Junpei
てそう
again.
でしょ。
Think about it. I will think about it, but I'm going to be thinking about it between episodes. So we're going to get Clover's thoughts on this whole mannequin, John's Locke, or John... Every time I hear Locke, or see it spelled that way, I think of John Locke. But Locke's socks and the ship of Theseus and how our group represents that. All I can imagine is that the mixing and matching of the different people in the different groups really are different forms of like the same initial body, maybe? I don't know. I'm interested, because Clover, like almost every character we've met so far, seems to have a lot more going on in that cranium of hers than she led off to, or led us to believe in the very beginning. So, I'm excited, and I hope you guys are just as intrigued as I am. But until the next episode, this is Moon Knight Zero, and this mission is complete.